Hello and welcome to Weekly MTG. I'm your host, Blake Rasmussen. Today is our monthly announcement day. So for those of you not familiar, monthly announcement day is where we package a bunch of cool announcements and such together, and boy do we have some good ones today. So as you'll see at the bottom down there, we're going to be talking LTR, which is Lord of the Rings. We're going to be talking CMM, which is something new that we have not announced yet. We're going to announce it here today. We're going to talk about it. We may even show some cards from it. And then we have some things to talk about for MTG Arena that chat is already on top of, knowing what is coming. But we're going to detail a lot of those things. We're going to share dates. We're going to share some previews in the Arena section as well from some upcoming sets. A lot of news today. But first, I want to set the scene. Actually, first, I want to do a shout out and a congratulations to Reed Duke for winning Pro Tour 1 on Sunday. Reed Duke has obviously been playing Magic for quite a long time, Hall of Famer, and he won in stirring fashion the first tabletop Pro Tour back, won by Reed Duke, and everyone loved it. So much so that we're going to have Reed Duke on this show next week to talk about his big win and reminisce over coming back to playing paper Pro Tours. It was a trip. It was wild. I loved it. I was in Philadelphia as well, so super excited to have Reed come hang out on the stream. Now, before that, today, when we're talking about all this stuff, so I want to set the scene on what you're going to get. So these are what we call internally pre-order dates. Those of you out in the world are probably familiar with kind of three kind of big moments that sets go through. So the debut is very obvious. The debut is when we do cinematic trailers. We start talking about mechanics, kicks off previews. That's like the big focus. First look is what we did actually on Sunday for March of the Machine. The first look is intended, we certainly share it with the fans, but it's intended to give a look at the set to distributors and retailers so they can have some idea of what they're ordering, because they order well ahead of the fans. So as a bonus, you all get to share in some of that and ooh and ah over some of the cool stuff. And we certainly saw a lot of cool stuff from March of the Machine on Sunday. It was a trip to be part of that panel at Philadelphia, and I hope you got to check it out either in person or on YouTube afterwards. So first look is, again, mostly for distributors and stores to have a better idea of what they're ordering. Pre-order dates. So that's what we're doing today with these first two sets with Lord of the Rings and CMM, which we'll get to. Pre-order dates are mostly so that retailers and online retailers can put up some basic information for their pre-orders so that you, if you want to, can pre-order, but it's to give them the information about when is a set releasing. Here are some assets that you can put up. Here are what the product lineup is for each set, that sort of thing. So pre-order dates typically don't include preview cards, but we like you. So today for CMM, we will be sharing a few preview cards. Lord of the Rings is not going to have any preview cards, but we will talk through what that set looks like. Okay, without further ado, let's get into probably the set I'm most excited for this year, which is Lord of the Rings. March of the Machine has me hyped. Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, which is the full title of the set, gives me those same feelings. So there you see some of the fantastic art. This set just blows it out of the water with art based on the books. So that is what that looks like. Let's look at the set logo and symbols. Unsurprisingly, going with some ring-based art for the main set and Commander logos. We are going to get to dates in just a moment. First, let's talk about the product lineup. So Lord of the Rings has a mostly standard product lineup. There are draft boosters, there are set boosters, there are collector boosters, and jumpstart boosters. There will be 5 Commander decks. We're not going to talk about the contents or the themes of those just yet. There will be a starter kit. You see that pre-release kit down there. And there's going to be a bundle and a bundle gift edition. Now, the art on all of this, in all of this set, I'm going to say this every time we talk about Lord of the Rings, is unreal. Absolutely amazing. And all of these packaging shots are going to be on dailymtg.com after the show. And I would definitely recommend, if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings or art or all of the above, or you just like cool things, definitely head to that to get a closer shot at some of this art. We will take a look at one of these pieces in a moment, but first, those dates we talked about. So important dates for Lord of the Rings, the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. March 14th will be that first look that we're talking about. So that will be the first place that you will see preview cards. I'm very excited to be doing that show. May 30th will be the debut. That's where we will kick off previews. And then June 16th will be the pre-release, followed by the Arena release on June 20th. I know we get a lot of questions about this. The Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth will be coming to Magic the Gathering Arena in its entirety, just straight up. Not like last year's Dungeons & Dragons release, where some of the cards were changed. All of the cards will be coming to Arena in their tabletop format. The tabletop release will be on June 23rd, and then there will be a holiday release on November 3rd. We'll have more details on that. That's still a little bit a ways away, but wanted to let you all know that there will be a holiday release associated with Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. And then, speaking of some of that amazing art, let's show off a Magali piece with, yeah, that's Gandalf facing down the Balrog. It just shows off how epic this set is going to be. Magic artists are some of the best in the business, and setting them free to explore Middle-earth and the Lord of the Rings has resulted in some truly epic art just like this. Yes, it's my job to know what's in this set, but I will just occasionally page through this set, and it gives me chills every time. So I'm super excited for this. We're going to get, again, our first look is coming on March 14th, and that's all we have to share about Lord of the Rings today. Just start getting ready. Start feeling that hype for Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. All right. Next up, we are going to talk about CMM, which I've been a little cagey about because it is a new product, although I think you'll get it as soon as we tell you the full title, which is Commander Masters. Commander Masters is, as you might guess, a master set that is focused on Commander almost exclusively. Commander Masters, there's the key art. Let's take a look at the logo and symbols. There we go. So that's what Commander Masters will look like. We're going to talk dates and all of that sort of jazz in a second. But again, because this is a new product lineup, we haven't done a Commander Masters before, we do want to show you some cards and some treatments so you can get a better sense of what we're going for with this set. And again, it's pretty freaking cool. So let's kick things off with the first preview card from Commander Masters. Jeweled Lotus. We all know what Jeweled Lotus is, but it costs 0. You can tap and sacrifice it to add 3 mana of any one color. Spend this mana only to cast your commander. And you've got 3 different treatments there for Jeweled Lotus specifically. Now, there are going to be several fancy treatments in this set. So borderless cards that when you see on the right there are going to come in 3 different varieties. There will be regular borderless cards. There will also be what we're calling this one on the right here, frame break borderless. So we're going to do some frame break cards, and they'll look a lot like this, where they feel like they're coming at you in a variety of ways. And then there are going to be profile borderless cards, one of which we can see on our next preview card, which is the Dragon. So a set of legendary creatures who are popular commanders will get this profile borderless treatment, so that you have right up close on their faces. They're representing you. You might as well have them right there up in their grill. There are also going to be textured foil cards in this set, and then there will be foil etched cards as well. The foil etched cards will be in collector boosters. And then finally, I want to show off one more preview card from this set. Capture of Jinzhou. This is being reprinted in a booster release for the first time ever, and it's coming in Commander Masters. And those are the two treatments there for it. All right, and so let's talk a little bit about the product lineup for Commander Masters. You can see that we will have draft boosters. Draft boosters will have 2 rares in every booster, and there will be 1 traditional foil card in every booster as well. The set boosters that you see in the middle up top there is going to have a guaranteed borderless card in every booster, and it will have at least 2 rares or mythics per booster. The collector booster there on the upper right is going to have the most stunning versions of the cards in the set. It's going to be the only place you can get the textured foil and foil etched cards. There will be 5 rares or mythic rares in every booster, and that includes 2 borderless rares or mythic rares. And there will also be 5 total borderless cards in every booster across all rarities. Now let's get a closer look at those Commander decks as well and talk a little bit about the archetypes, because we got some cool ones here. So Planeswalker Party is a white, red, and blue deck that will, of course, focus on Planeswalkers. The next one, a lot of people are going to be excited about this one. We are finally doing a colorless Eldrazi pre-constructed deck. No colors, just Eldrazi. Then we move into Enduring Enchantments, which is an Abzan-flavored enchantments deck. You can see the Theros sort of starry sky motif there on that art. And then finally, another favorite, Sliver Swarm, a 5-color sliver deck will be one of the decks releasing with Commander Masters. And then key dates, so you know when all this stuff is coming. So we're going to do our first look, again, that sort of minimalist, here's the basics of the set, on May 16th. Then July 28th through 30th, we're going to have some WPN Premium Store preview events, followed by the August 4th tabletop launch. I can't tell you it's Guff. I don't actually know if that art is Commodore Guff. I can find out, but I don't actually know if it's Commodore Guff. But I'll be honest with you, I don't know the answer to that, and it was my first thought as well. So that is Commander Masters coming later in the year. Very exciting. Now let's talk about a couple Arena releases that are going to be coming sooner rather than later. Quite soon, in fact, the first one is going to be next week. All right, let's take a look at the dates upcoming. So Alchemy Phyrexia. The game update will be coming next week on February 28th. March 7th is Shadows over Innistrad Remastered pre-order. We're going to show preview cards from both of those sets coming up. And then Shadows over Innistrad Remastered game update will be happening on March 21st. So let's talk a little bit about these. So Alchemy Phyrexia, there are going to be 30 digital first cards to play on Arena as part of that set. And it's going to include some cards that conjure iconic and exciting cards from Mirrodin's past. And previews for that set start today, right now. In fact, let's take a look at the first of those. This is Quicksilver Lapidary. For blue and a red, you get a 1/1 Phyrexian Artificer. When Quicksilver Lapidary enters the battlefield, conjure a card named Mox Opal into your hand. That's that card you see on the right there. That is a card that gets conjured. It is not in the set, much the same way that Ancestral Recall was conjured and shuffled into your library from the Oracle of the Alpha. So that is a card that will be conjured in Alchemy. Next up, there we go, Spawning Pod. For 2 and a green, you get an artifact that says 1, tap, sacrifice a creature. Seek a creature card with mana value equal to 1+ the sacrificed creature's mana value and put that card onto the battlefield. This creature is a Phyrexian in addition to its other types. Activate only as a sorcery. Yep, that's basically Birthing Pod-ish. birthing pot-ish. You don't have as much control of it. It's a seek rather than a search, but still a very powerful card. And finally from this release, Phyrexian Harvester. So we've seen white and black versions of the quad-colored mana cost of Phyrexian Horrors. So this one costs 4 red mana. It is a 5/5 with Menace. When Phyrexian Harvester is dealt damage, seek that many non-land cards. At the beginning of your next end step, discard those cards. All right. So that again is coming next week. You will see more previews from that set coming between now and the release on the 28th. All right, next up, actually a couple more details on that. The boosters will be available for purchase in the store. They will contribute towards golden packs. And there will also be Alchemy Phyrexia Premier Drafts available to draft. That's it. All right. Next up, let's take a look at Shadows over Innistrad Remastered. A lot of people have been waiting a long time for this, and with all of the excitement around Pioneer from this past weekend, we are moving ever closer to having Pioneer on Arena. So this will include 302 cards, including the 15 basic lands, from Shadows over Innistrad and Eldritch Moon. Plus, it will include 81 cards that will include some callbacks to the original 2011 Innistrad block. So these boosters, Shadows over Innistrad Remastered boosters, will be available for purchase in the store and will contribute to a golden pack. And there will be events including Sealed, Traditional Draft, and Premier Draft. So we're going to show off some preview cards from this, and then we'll talk a few more details. We have, first, Sigarda's Aid. And then next up, favorite of mine, Thing in the Ice / Awakened Horror. All you Phoenix fans, get ready. And finally, for the zombie aficionados out there, Relentless Dead will, of course, be coming back and making your control player life miserable. Shadows over Innistrad Remastered releases on March 21st. It will be available for pre-order starting March 7th. It will contain the following. I'm going to read this so that I get it right. It's going to contain the pre-order bundle, which costs $29.99, will contain 10 Shadows over Innistrad Remastered set boosters, 1 golden booster, 3 draft tokens, 1 Bruna the Fading Light card, 1 Gisela the Broken Blade card, Brisella, Voice of Nightmare sleeve, Bruna the Fading Light card style, and Gisela the Broken Blade card style. And finally, something I saw chat murmuring about at the beginning, we are going to show off for the first time a feature that has been much requested, including by myself every once in a while, the preferred printing feature. So with the release of Alchemy Phyrexia, so that is next week, players will be able to select a preferred printing of any card that has multiple versions on Magic Arena, and it will use this version by default. So let's take a look at how that works with basic lands. You can see you click the little arrow in the upper left, you change the heart to which one you'll love. You can click the arrow to collapse back, so this is in the deck list view. And boom, all of your plans will forevermore be that special Elena Danner art. Now this will also work for non-land cards. So you check out Opt, you click the little arrow, you decide you love the Strixhaven, we'll decide we love the Strixhaven heart one here. Click the arrow back, and boom. All of your opts use the Strixhaven Mystical Archive version. So yes, this has by far been one of the most requested features on Arena, and we've been talking about bringing it to you for a few years now. So it is finally here. It took a little longer than we planned, but we're really happy with the implementation. You got your first look at it there, and we are going to have it ready for you on Magic the Gathering Arena next week on the 28th with the Alchemy Phyrexia update. That covers everything I had to tell you this entire show. 20 minutes. Look at how efficient I am. So what that means is I will take some questions in chat. I may or may not be able to answer them depending on how forward-facing there are. But if you tag @Magic in the chats, I will be able to see it easier. Let's start with these. All right. Emrakul question mark. You'll just have to wait and see. I'm not going to confirm or deny any cards in Shadows over Innistrad Remastered that were not in my previews. But again, previews will be coming. Will you do a difference in Historic Brawl and release a new Brawl with all cards except Alchemy? I know that is feedback that the team has received. I've not heard anything about that. Are there any banned and restricted updates coming in the near future? We don't have any on any scheduled right now, but I will say we do have our regular, so we have regular check-ins BNR meetings. We do have one of those coming up. Whether anything will come out of it is still TBD. A new Eldrazi Titan or take a known one? You will just have to wait and see. What is Multiverse Legends? Is the new Masterpiece series. So this, the Multiverse Legends, wasn't something we talked about in this show, but it was something from the March of the Machine first look on Sunday. So I can actually share that. So Multiverse Legends is a bonus sheet that will come in March of the Machine, much like the Strixhaven Mystical Archive or the Retro Artifacts in Brothers War. It'll be similar to that. So you'll get one basically every pack. And they will be legends from throughout the multiverse. They'll all be reprints. So we saw Ragavan and Atraxa, the original Atraxa, as previews on Sunday. So that is what Multiverse Legends are. Hobbit is censored for some reason. All right, we'll look into that. Are the 81 extra callback cards from Shadows over Innistrad new or old? Wait and see. I think I would pose that question to the Arena team. They can probably answer it more precisely than I can. Will any of the remastered sets also be released in paper? So Shadows over Innistrad is a Magic the Gathering Arena only release. That's not to say one day we might not do something like it in tabletop, but it's not currently planned. Are there any plans to add a Gladiator queue? None that I'm aware of, but I know we've run Gladiator events before, and they may come back, but none that I'm aware of. Let's see. 4-player brawl, nothing to talk about there. Will Shadows over Innistrad Remastered have rares not originally in that block, similar to how other remaster sets had, like AMK had remastered Thoughtseize? Stay tuned. Is Commander Masters 100% reprints? So Commander Masters, the main set, is reprints. The Commander decks, as part of the Commander Masters release, will have new cards in it. Can I build Lotus Field after Innistrad release? That's a question in reference to the combo deck that did well at the Pro Tour this past weekend, and you'll just have to wait and see. Is this release window for Commander Masters a bit too soon? Too soon is in the eye of the beholder, but it's not releasing till late summer, so I would say no, but you know, that's up to you. Any Explorer Anthology or Anthologies set planned soon? Nothing I have to announce today. So just those two were the ones we were focusing on today. Multiversal Legends cards coming to Arena. Yes, they are. Exactly how they'll be implemented, I know there were a lot of questions around like Ragavan and Historic and that sort of thing. Obviously, we have precedents for handling powerful cards in those bonus sheets. I'm sure the Arena team will talk more about that coming up. So the Multiversal Legends won't be standard legal. Correct. The Multiversal Legends have a separate collector symbol, and they will not be standard legal. March of the Machine Aftermath is the new set after March of the Machine. Correct. March of the Machine Aftermath is something that we talked a bit about on Sunday during the March of the Machine first look. It's something internally we're calling like a micro set. It's 50 cards coming in 5-card boosters, and it's very story focused. So the team, when they started putting together March of the Machine, they're like, this is this big epic event, and there's a bunch of fallout that changes so much. We saw one card on Sunday that showed that the Kenriths have a royal funeral coming up. So obviously a lot of fallout, and it didn't make sense story-wise to put the aftermath of this epic plane-spanning battle in the same set as the battle. And so the team decided that to best tell this story on cards, and the aftermath is dripping with story. We're doing this. We're trying out this little micro set, so that'll be it's a really cool set. It's got a lot of super flavorful. I'm gonna stop talking about it because I'm gonna give something away. Any comment on the email saying there is one DFC battle card in each pack of Mom? My comment is, in order to receive those emails, you should sign up for our email mailing list, and maybe you too will get emails that tell you about DFC battle cards. Let's see. What foilings do the Multiverse Legends cards come in? So there are 4 different treatments for the Multiverse Legends cards. Again, this is back in March of the Machine for reference. I will, because I don't have my notes in front of you, I remember there are 4. I don't want to speak incorrectly. If you want to know about the foilings for the Multiverse Legends cards, I would check out the article on WeeklyMTG that talks about the March of the Machine first look. It has the details in there, and it will have them correct, and I would be speaking off the top of my head, so I could get them wrong. Will Shadows Over Remastered be rebalanced or draft with cards that were warping, changing rarity, or removed? Shadows Over Innistrad Remastered is a remastered experience in the same vein as we've had remastered experiences before. I know that doesn't directly answer your question, but I don't want to give away too much until we get to that preview season. Will the preferred card styles work with the Beta Rewards Masterpiece Planeswalkers? I do not know, but I bet someone on the Arena team is watching and will be able to get that answer out there. Let's see. In which format will Lord of the Rings be legal? And I just lost that question, so I'm not sure if it was referring to Arena or in Tabletop, but it is a modern legal release. On Arena, it will be historic legal. What did you eat at Reading Terminal last weekend? I eat there for breakfast and lunch every day. I had the apple. There was a special at the Dutch place that was an apple French toast thing. I got chicken and waffles at the Oyster Bar one morning. I got a Philly cheesesteak, obviously. Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff. I ate there. Any more Lord of the Rings previews for next week? No, we are not doing Lord of the Rings previews until that first look. Does the Lord of the Rings set include reprints, or will all cards be brand new? Stay tuned. Let's see. When will there be news about MagicCon Minneapolis? So that is coming up. I believe we are talking about MagicCon Minneapolis on March 7th is when we have it scheduled to talk about on this show. Is the March of the Machine Aftermath set standard legal? Yes, it is. Are we getting support to historic besides the Explorer sets, a new anthology? Again, I don't have any new Arena sets to announce beyond what we talked about today. Is there any balance update planned for Alchemy soon? I am not aware of one. That doesn't mean there isn't one planned. The Arena team would certainly know more about that. Is there a timeline on when the team wants to finish Pioneer in Arena? It's less a timeline and more a sort of checklist. of what cards are relevant for Pioneer, how and when can we get those in what different ways. So they may have internally there may be a timeline in mind, but I know when Jay was on the show talking about Explorer into Pioneer, he was talking about a list of cards that they had that were relevant in Pioneer that they needed to get on before they considered it close. Now, it's important to keep in mind that when Explorer is lined up with Pioneer, that doesn't mean it's one-to-one fidelity. There may be, for example, some 2/2s for 2 that are never going to be played in Constructed that don't make it in. But I need to see Gandalf. You do. You do. It's so... That's so good. Lord of the Rings is so good. Can you talk more about booster fun for Commander Masters? I certainly can. So I'll read off what I have. So there are borderless cards and foils. Commander Masters borderless cards come in those 3 varieties I told you about. There's the regular borderless cards that we've seen before, the frame break borderless, which we saw on the Jeweled Lotus, and the profile borderless, which we saw on the Dragon. There are textured foil cards, so all mythic rare profile borderless cards, plus the Jeweled Lotus frame break borderless card, will be available in textured foil. Those are going to be in collector boosters only for textured foil. Foil etched cards, every rare and mythic rare, the non-borderless versions, will be available in foil etched, and those will be in collector boosters as well. Preview schedule for Shadows over Innistrad Remastered. I don't have anything beyond what we had today. Let's see. Has there been any talk about Modern to Arena? No, the Arena team's focus is getting Pioneer up and going in terms of expanding formats. Will Plane Chase be on Arena? Not that I'm aware of, but I'm not certain on that. Arena Steam release. We will share more on that when we have information. Let's see. Do we know a time when all the Commander deck lists for March of the Machine will be realized? I do actually know that. I happen to know that off the top of my head. So Commander deck lists for March of the Machine are scheduled for April 4th. They do have that could shift between now and then. There's enough time between now and then that plans can change, but currently they're scheduled for April 4th. This is a draftable Commander format. Now there are some twists to that, of course, to make drafting Commander a workable and enjoyable experience that we'll talk about more as we get to that. Let's see. Aftermath will, in fact, only be 50 cards. That is correct. It's a small set meant to tie up the story loose ends and set us off on the next part of the story. What's the drafting situation with Commander Masters? The drafting situation is that it is draftable. We have draft sets. Those who have drafted Commander-focused sets in the past, it will work similarly, although, as I said, there is a twist that we will talk about as we get closer. Let me make sure that I didn't have that in my notes to talk about today. Draft boosters. No, we're going to talk about that later. You mentioned Shadows over Innistrad Remastered will get golden packs. Will the golden packs be updated to have Shadows over Innistrad 2 or just standard? Let me pull that information up. Okay, will contribute towards a golden pack. It will be the same golden pack that's available for 1 and Shadows and Alchemy. So I believe the answer is no, according to my notes. Let's see. How many cards are in Commander Masters draft boosters? I do not have that information in front of me, unfortunately. I don't want to misspeak. Let's see. Netflix, I don't have any information on Netflix today. I don't have anything on Lord of the Rings pricing. Now, the good thing is that doing the pre-order beat today means that places will start putting Lord of the Rings up for pre-order starting today, possibly now, depending on how ready they are. And you may start seeing that pricing pop up at various different outlets. Are Lord of the Rings and Commander Masters coming to MTGO, and if so, when? I do not know the answer to that. So if you aren't aware, MTGO is managed by Daybreak now, and so we are close partners, but I actually have not spoken to the MTGO team about that, so I do not have that answer on me. Please add Crewfix to Arena. Noted. Arena team. Note that. Commander Masters available at MagicCon Barcelona. Stay tuned for that. We definitely have noted how close those are together, and not ready to announce anything yet, but it is noted. Yes. What are new things we can expect from March of the Machine? I would watch the first look from yesterday. I'm not allowed to say anything more than that. What was your takeaway from Philly, and how can you make the Black Lotus ticket a better value? So lots of takeaways from Philly. First of all, Philly was amazing. We could do an entire show on MagicCon Philly and all the learnings. What I will, I don't want to speak for the team. Everybody's been traveling back. We haven't had a chance to all round up and talk about things. What I will say, though, is that I hope those of you who attended Magic 30 in Vegas and MagicCon Philadelphia or saw the reactions to both online, note all of the improvements that the team made. The team worked really hard over that time to make Philadelphia an even better experience. And I think they succeeded certainly in making it an even better experience. And I have all the faith in that team that they will make Minneapolis better than Philadelphia, that they'll make Barcelona better than Minneapolis, and that they'll continue to improve and get that. So please, all the feedback about making the Black Lotus ticket a better value was certainly heard. And I know that they're working on some stuff right now, as well as things for the future. So yeah, that's what I'll say about that. Let's see. Can we get Commander Masters into Arena? Currently no plans to that I am aware of. How will limited work for Aftermath on Arena? I don't actually know the answer to that. That is a great question. So Aftermath is not a set that is intended to be drafted. So it comes in 5-card boosters. You certainly can. I think that could be an interesting and weird format, or maybe you can figure out a way to take Aftermath boosters and put 1 or 2 into your March of the Machine draft in some form or fashion. I think that could be really fun, but I don't have those details right now. We'll talk more about Aftermath as we get closer, and certainly the Arena team will talk more about how it works on Arena. Let's see. Since I entered late, Commander Masters is reprints only. Main set is reprints. However, there are the Commander decks do have new cards. More information on the battle mechanic. I don't know what you're talking about. The answer is no. So when I was talking earlier about the different beats, so pre-order, first look, debut. Debut is really when we talk about mechanics. There are some occasions where we'll do a mechanic on first look if it makes sense, or if it's a known mechanic, or if we can't possibly talk about the set without that mechanic. But if there are new mechanics in March of the Machine, and there are, we'll talk about those at the debut. Are the Predator-like slivers from Chandalar coming back? So I think you're talking about the design, the way they look, and we'll show more of that art as we get closer to Commander Masters. Let's see. What happens to my 5+ copies with preferred versions on Arena? I do not know the answer to that. That is a great question to ask the Arena team. Any questions about Arena that I'm not able to ask, I recommend you head to one of two places, because that team is really on top of answering things when they're able to. Either head to their Twitter account, or the official Magic Discord definitely has places where you can ask questions of the Arena team as well. What's the set code for Shadows Remastered? It's SIR, SIR. We've had some great 3-letter codes lately. Favorite set released last year? Favorite set released last year? Brothers War. I really like the retro artifacts. Let's see. Yeah, bro, mom, sir. Will there be a VOD of this? Yes, there will. WeeklyMTG, you'll either be able to replay it on Twitch, or we also post this video to YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, hi. These are some great questions. I didn't think we'd be going this long. Will Invisible Stalker be in Shadows over Innistrad Remastered? I can't answer that yet. I can answer that it is in my nightmares. I definitely played during that time. Yeah, Invisible Stalker with a Butcher's Cleaver. Just impossible to beat. Any news on all of Pioneer being on Arena? I talked a little bit about this earlier. The news is that Shadows over Innistrad Remastered is coming, and it's going to take a big chunk out of a lot of missing Pioneer-focused cards. And again, it's nice because the Pro Tour this past weekend, helped reset what the metagame looks like, helped reset what's important on Pioneer, and so the Arena team can look at that and can shift priorities, or can take things off the list, add them to the list, and keep working towards making it fully Pioneer. My favorite deck in Pioneer? Even though it's not as good as it used to be, I do really like Phoenix. I really enjoy the gameplay of Phoenix. But in terms of, I also like Lotus Field. That's also my type of deck. And I have been playing a lot of Greasefang on Arena. So I'll say those. Let's see. Is Nykthos ban safe? So I can't speak towards what's safe or not. I don't make the decisions on bannings. I will say that I had a good conversation with Aaron Forsyth about the results of the Pioneer event, and we both remarked on how mono green Nykthos didn't do great. Whatever that means. Now, that's not to say that no action will be taken, or they'll look at Pioneer and say, okay, we need to make this slate of changes, and that results in us also having. But if you saw the event this weekend, if you saw the results, I think the Nykthos green deck had a sub 50% win percentage, which is not something that typically R&D turns its focus on. Where should I send thoughts after MagicCon Philadelphia? That is a great question. I would say if you attended MagicCon Philly, the best place to send your thoughts might be through the communications channels that you had available to you through ReadPop. But if you also share them with us on Twitter, we'll make sure that we get those shared back. We're going back to Ixalan and Eldraine this year. Are there any planes that will absolutely not be visiting in the near future? So in terms of full set, never say never. Mark Rosewater said that we probably were not going back to Kamigawa, and then we went back to Kamigawa, and it was awesome. Because eventually the team may hit on an amazing creative idea like they did with Kamigawa Neon Dynasty and knock something out of the park. I'll also say, sort of cheekily, that March of the Machine the first look, we showed glimpses of Chandelar and Mercadia and other, not obscure planes, but planes we hadn't been to in a while. So if you're just talking about getting glimpses of, you're going to get a lot of glimpses of planes in March of the Machine. Let's see. Why the serial numbers of the new set have 4 digits? Yeah, we should probably talk about that in a more focused way. It's not that there are more than 1,000 unique cards in the set. That's not what that means. It's not a massively huge set. It is a set that is the same size, and there are variations. But we are, generally speaking, recognizing that 4 digits is useful, and it's a bit of future-proofing is honestly a little bit of what it is. But we will also, we'll look for an opportunity to talk more about that and some of those cosmetic changes at a later one. MagicCon Philly was amazing. Thanks so much for coming to Philly. Please keep coming back. It was amazing. Everybody, you know, I had so many fantastic conversations or just people thanking us for doing things, and we've all been interacting online for a couple years, exclusively online, I should say, and that frays the nerves a little bit, but being able to go back and do it in person was incredible and uplifting, and I'm so thankful for everyone who came to that event and said hi or just enjoyed themselves. It was fantastic. Do you think we will see more standard sets like March of the Machine that feature happenings between multiple planes? I don't know, maybe. Thoughts on how to avoid overlapping new set first looks in the PT finals in the future? You know, it's interesting because we've gotten both sides of that feedback. So we got the feedback that you're sharing that it's too much, that the first look happening at about the same time as the finals was unfortunate because it divided attention. We also got the feedback that doing that at that time of day, right before the finals, was maximum hype, all the eyeballs. People love being able to just see all the things, especially with the YouTube VOD going up after the finals. So it's not going to always be that way. We're not lining up all of our first looks to line up with the PT finals. That's not the way it's going to work. That's not the way the calendar is set up. It lined up this time, and we tried it, and we're certainly going to look at viewership numbers and feedback like this and see what makes sense in the future. You know, I did like, though, that it set us up to show Yuta Takahashi's World Championship card during the stream. He got to preview it himself right before the finals. So I love that worked out. And I thought the audience at Philadelphia was amazing for the first look. We don't, you know, these things tend to be Sean and I in an office. And I do it to an audience of 1, which is a lot less nerve-wracking. But at the same time, it was amazing to have the reactions from the fans live. So a lot of stuff to talk about there, but definitely appreciate the feedback. Any plans on making a token Masters set for paper? Not that I'm aware of, but good thought. Let's see. We don't have enough beanbags. Good to know. Let's see. Are there any details at all that you could give us about MagicCon Minneapolis or MagicCon Vegas? Not at this time. So I know part of the reason is the team is taking all the feedback, all the learnings from Philadelphia, and again, they're going to keep improving and making that experience all the much better. So those details will be coming, but not just yet. Any chance for a recap for those that came in late? The recap is we gave some basic info about Lord of the Rings. We announced Commander Masters and showed off 3 preview cards, and we talked about the release of Shadows over Innistrad Remastered and Alchemy Phyrexia. If you want more details on that, I would suggest rewatching the video. It was only about 20 minutes worth of details, so it's relatively short for all of that. When is Dad? Good question. Favorite Magic card of all time? It's Muldrifter. What set are you most excited for? Lord of the Rings and March of the Machine are 1A and 1B. Both of those sets make me feel feelings. Lord of the Rings is... So I'm, to give you a sense of the level of Lord of the Rings fan I am, I have read the Silmarillion, but to say I've understood the Silmarillion would be stretching it. And I do listen to the occasional Lord of the Rings focused podcast or YouTube video. Just on my own as a thing I like to do. So I am super excited for Lord of the Rings, but I'm not. We have a coworker and friend here who wrote something in the Lord of the Rings article that's going up on Daily that I was like, I don't know what that means. And then I looked it up, and it was definitely a Lord of the Rings thing, but it was a little bit more obscure. And so we have that level of fan in the building for sure, which I am not, but I am very excited for the set, including producer Sean. Producer Sean may be a super fan here. Any plans to add replay or spectator feature on Arena? Nothing I have to announce today. Any artists already registered for PT Minneapolis? I believe we have some contracted, but we don't have anything to announce today. Is LATAM going to receive support again? I will address this a little bit. Absolutely. Support's not going anywhere. We're just shifting what that looks like. It's not a forgotten region. I know there's a lot of concern over there based on some recent changes, but it is not, we are not abandoning Latin America. Let's see. PT1 coverage was fantastic. How was viewership received internally? So we have not had a chance to have our after event meeting to talk about everything. So I don't actually know. I'll tell you that I was personally pleasantly surprised by how robust viewership was, but I was not focused on the PT for most of the weekend, so I don't have that particular insight. But I will note that a lot of us thought the coverage was pretty dang great as well, and it was super excited. Any chance of getting Stephen Colbert to promote the Lord of the Rings set? I heard he somewhat likes Lord of the Rings. He does. He may be the biggest fan in the world. I don't know. That'd be great. Stephen, if you're watching, which you're definitely not, but if you are, call me. On a scale from 0 to Reed Duke, how good of a player are you? 5. Did you get to play in the Gavin event? I did not get to play in the Gavin event, but I did. He shared all the way through his planning for that event. He was sharing that with us, and it looked really cool. Any new franchises coming to Universes Beyond that you could spoil? Not that I can spoil just based on a question. Absolutely not. I'd be fired almost immediately. And I like my job. Are there plans to have full Pioneer on Arena, not just the most played cards? So it's not yes and no. So let me try to clarify this. So it's not talking about just the most played cards. It's talking about having being able to basically play any relevant deck in constructed Pioneer. There are going to be cards from past sets that are limited only. A 2/2 for 2 with set mechanic, or a 2/2 for 2 with lifelink, let's say, which is not an uncommon sort of card to exist in a set. The team's not going to prioritize getting that on Arena because it's not going to necessarily exist in any sort of Pioneer metagame. So the focus is on getting Explorer to match Pioneer constructed formats as close as humanly possible, both from the most competitive that we see at the Pro Tour and also lesser competitive, fun themed sort of decks that are still playable in Pioneer. Advertisements for the Pro Tour were poor. So I definitely saw that feedback leading up to the event, and I'll say a couple things about it. One, this is our first Pro Tour back, and the team is still getting its legs under it, still getting back up to speed on how to talk about the Pro Tour to the fans, when and where and how. As for advertising for the Pro Tour being poor, certainly everyone's experience in that is valid. If you didn't hear about it and were surprised by it, then obviously for your experience that wasn't great. But in some cases I would see, there was a thread on Reddit, for example, that said, hey, we're going to put the Pro Tour streaming here and everybody come watch it because Wizards isn't doing our job. But like at the top, there was a pinned post that had all the information for the Pro Tour, including the streaming info. So there's a bit of a challenge in that. We didn't, for example, one place we did miss was we didn't have an advertisement in Arena linking to Pro Tour coverage. That was just a straight up miss, and we're going to rectify that in the future. But so there's definitely some learnings. I do think that the viewership was pretty strong, and so certainly a good number of people did know that the Pro Tour was happening, but always ways for us to improve, especially when we're just coming back. Let's see. Pro Tour coverage was awesome. Any chance we'll get big events like that in Europe? Yeah, the MagicCon Barcelona is going to have a Pro Tour on it. Boy, we really did make it through almost 40 minutes of questions. Well done, chat. Great questions. Will there be game coverage of Arena Championships on this channel? I don't actually know the answer to that question. I know we did the last one, but I'm not 100% on plans for that. Any plans of releasing a zombie pet on Arena? None I'm aware of, but great feedback for the Arena pet team. After you've added all Pioneer staples to Arena, will there be an avenue for players to advocate for the addition of pet cards? Yeah, absolutely. We have social media listening teams for exactly that sort of thing. Again, I'll promote the official Magic Discord. Is a great way to talk directly to people who work for the Arena team to share that sort of feedback. But we read social media, we read we read our Discord, obviously. You can share things in chat here, and that often gets to people. So all the various ways you talk to us will share feedback. Let's see. Is there an Arena pet team? I mean, there's got to be. I don't know how many people are on it, but somebody does that work. Is the coverage for the Pro Tour that was pre-recorded the format going forward? So unclear, because again, we have not had the meetings about all of that yet. Everyone's still traveling back, taking some comp time, etc., etc. I do think that it was received pretty well, and that will certainly be taken into consideration going forward. But we're going to keep improving the viewing experience at home. I was asked by a reporter on site, what makes the Pro Tour successful? And I said, well, two main things. Are the players having a great time at the Pro Tour itself? And two, is the viewing experience for everyone who watches a good experience? And so those are our main goals for making that work. And so if we think that fans enjoyed how the pre-recorded format worked, then we'll keep doing it. I will say it's a vast improvement over all of the downtime that we used to have on coverage, where we just kind of sit around for however much time it took to get to the next match. So any Wizards of the Coast members at MagicCon Barcelona? Yes, absolutely. There will be Wizards people at every MagicCon going forward. Okay. That is all the time I have. Thank you for so many great questions. I thought after 20 minutes that we'd be done early, but you know what? Well done. Great questions. Enjoy talking with you all. We are going to be back next week to celebrate Reed Duke's first Pro Tour win. First, it's hard to believe that, but that is his first Pro Tour victory. and we're going to talk with him and celebrate that. We will also have a little play announcement next week. Little fun play announcement. And Reed Duke will be joining us. And if you haven't already had the chance, please do check out the March of the Machine First Look. It is on YouTube now. Really good time, shows off a lot of what is coming up, and March of the Machine is a very exciting set. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you next week.